Finger from Percy. It's Wednesday night. It's podcast night. We've got one of our original guests returning, Dewayne Bowen. Dwayne, Waney, Jimmy Wayne Bowen. Again, how many does this make for you?
It might be 12 or 13.
Yeah, you're one of our
OG. Is that what that stands for? Original guest? OG.
OG. Yeah,
All right.
you're the podcast
Original
OG,
gangster.
original gangster podcaster with us. So you were there. Yeah, you may have.
I was the first.
You're the
Episode 4, I think.
Yep. He even made a monetary donation to
Yeah.
the cause, which we
All of our,
that's it.
our
He gave us $50 and we turned that into alcohol. So of course we did.
invested.
We've been wanting to do ACDC for a while, and there's only really, and this was Percy when I talked to him. When he said he wanted to do, he gave me sort of like, here's some choices I'd like to do, and ACDC was one of them. I talked to Percy about it, and he said we need to split them. Bon Scott, ACDC, and Brian Johnson. So I agreed 100%. Wayne did too. So let's give credit to Bon Scott for tonight's episode because we're doing ACDC, the Bon Scott, which was awesome. It was raw. It was raw rock and roll with Bon Scott. Not to discredit Brian Johnson by any way, because he was great too. But we're going to dive into Bon Scott tonight. And before we do, let's thank our sponsors, Spices Smokehouse Crackers. They always do a great job for us. And if you see their crackers or poppers, buy them. Promise you'll buy them again. Also want to thank Brindley's Family Pharmacy. They do another great job here locally. And if you're using a corporate pharmacy, I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Use a local pharmacy. You'll get better care and better service, and they'll actually know you by your name instead of a number. Last but not least, Busted Oak Bourbon Society, where you can find me and Percy in the trenches on Saturday morning from 11 to 4 usually, and we'll be there this Saturday. Do we have anything exciting going on this Saturday? We got another horse race or anything?
SEC baseball tournament.
Okay, so we got the SEC baseball tournament, and that'll be on, and we'll have a good time. Come on up, and you can order food, and we'll sling you a drink out there, and it's a good vibe and a good time. So
And
come see us.
something to what you said. Sometimes you want to go to a pharmacy where everybody knows your name.
That's right. Yeah. So R.I.P. George Wentz. Norm from Cheers passed away. Like was it yesterday?
I think so.
Yeah, yesterday. So, I mean, that's sort of a sad deal. And on that note, want to give a shout out to Thomas Whitten. We laid his mother to rest today, so our hearts and our prayers are with you and your family. And so I want you to know that personally.
I want to give a shout out to Realtor Face.
Okay.
Closing on a new home Friday.
We do. We closed on your house, and that it was, man, I appreciate that shout out. It's been a pretty seamless transaction. Of course,
so.
We've done a few transactions
Yep.
together, and I appreciate your loyalty to me here outside of podcasting. Well, what's professional?
Realtor job probably pays you as well, yes, but
With of course your contributions and anyway, Wilkie's here as always on picks and I hope that you'll dive in with us along the way when you feel like
So these transactions y'all did, was this the first one that was legal?
yeah, this we've done how many here? We done
our third real estate.
real estate legal transaction. Now, we ain't gonna talk about it. But then again, the statute of limitations is run out on that. That's back from the 80s when
30 years.
yeah, fraternity brothers at good old Jack State.
You thought it's funny. My sister Sandra, who's been on here a couple times,
You know, last time.
she heard one of these that about sponsors. She said, "Should I give them some money, sponsor?" And I said, "Well, I said, don't worry about it." I said, "My wife and I like buy my new house like every 2 years."
I'm old, man. I hope you're going to listen to this, and I'm sure you will because Wayne's on it. Thanks for the Virginia peanuts that you bring, which I am now completely addicted to, especially since I found that I can buy a big container at Sam's Club, which is a staple at my house. But we want her time she comes into town we need a heads up so we can fit a podcast in. It's not just for the peanuts. It's because we love her and she does a great job. So y'all are a good team. So with all that being said, have I missed anything, Percy?
I don't think so.
All right, let's get into AC/DC, the Bon Scott era. Honorable mentions. Percy, what you got?
Well, let's get started with Ronald Belford Scott,
Ronald Belford Scott. No wonder he changed his name to Bon.
who started drumming, and Angus said that Bon was the dirtiest fucker that he. That was his own words. And my first honorable mention is maybe I can relate to this because I work at a car lot, but it's Down Payment Blues. Mookie feels me on this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mookie knows.
And we had this talk in the movement round before we started about how it seemed like when they had Bond, they were a lot more diverse in their music. They were some blues in there, and they could slow it down.
Yeah.
Whereas like when Brian came along, it kind of like it seemed like it was on
Hard charging.
an even plane. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, it was all a hard charging. Fine. Discredit him. I said that twice, but that was maybe the smoothest transition of a front man in the history of rock and roll to go from Bond to Brian. I think we'll all agree with that.
My next honorable mention is, and I remember this when I got to see him in concert for the Razor's Edge tour in Huntsville, Alabama, for $23.95. I remember they had
A
a
big part of that now.
they had a big blow up and when they did a whole lot of Rosie. That's my next honorable mention.
Oh wow, okay.
And my last honorable
That's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a bluesy number that they did. And I did not know this till this week. But this song, The Jack,
Tell us the story.
a lot of people think it's about gambling because there's some gambling references in there.
We thought
never-
it was about something else.
I knew in the ninth grade what it was about.
I'm surprised you was about.
But
The Jack was,
Right?
no, it's not.
Not what it is.
the Jack is Australian slang for gonorrhea.
Oh, so you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That's what I thought it was.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't know until Percy told me. And then, I'm sorry, Wayne, you were correct. Jack's about gonorrhea. Damn, I don't want the Jack. Never had a Jack.
That's classic.
Raise your hand if you've had the Jack. Wilkie, put your hand down.
Camera, so you got proof.
We are filming. You're in good shape, brother. Is that's your honorable mentions then?
That's it.
All right, those are good. That's a good starter right there. Laney, what you got?
That
Wait, because
that
you said you proclaimed when you came in today that you have listened to every Bon Scott AC/DC song prior to this podcast.
in the last 4 days.
In the last one. Unfortunately for Militia, you were over in Georgia.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Already doing my car.
what you got?
But I will say that was a big thing for us in school back in 1980 in the ninth grade.
Yeah,
I've got these memories. Remember Mr. Pooney
yes.
had been in his class?
Booney Jolly.
That going on a cassette tape or whatever. We were talking about what that was about, that song. So that I didn't know that. So yeah, so Bon Scott, my first honorable mention is great song from High Voltage. And I was telling Percy earlier, I've just really appreciated that first album of theirs, High Voltage,
Right.
more this week than I ever have before. But I'm going with rock and roll singer.
It's a good one.
I want to be a rock and roll singer.
Yep.
It's just like all of us, parents wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer man, but he wanted to be a rock and roll singer.
Did you want to be a rock and roll singer?
He did want to be a rock and roll singer.
Want to be a rock and roll?
It's good thing.
Yeah. And I was in a band,
You go post slammers.
and I wasn't worth a shit. But
Yeah, live the dream.
lived a dream for I don't know, maybe a year and a semester. It's just semester and 2 years. Fine. All right, good choice.
Cool. So my second honorable mention is from what I think was the Bon Scott's, era greatest album, Highway to Hell, but it's Walk All Over You.
Yeah, that's a
And
good one.
that's just one of those songs starts kind of slow and just has a build to it, and it's sort of like the first song of the next album that they had after that. But Walk All Over You is my second honorable mention. And then the third we talked about this week too. That sounds a lot like the local great band Warm
Yeah,
Overdose. I when I
we talked
listen
about this a little bit.
when I listen to that song, I can hear Warm in that too.
And they came out. I mean, who influenced who?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
they were
yeah.
all. I mean, we would think that if there was an influences, AC/DC to Warm, but
Yeah.
shit, right now.
Warm sort of sounded a little like Free too,
Yes,
And,
because Mike Bruce was a huge Paul Rogers fan, and Randy Frank's coming on in June, and we're going to do Paul Rogers just for Bubba Bruce because he was such a Paul Rogers and Free and Bad Company fan. So interesting you said that.
Yeah, so that's my 3 honorable mentions.
All right, those are good choices. All right, mine. When you ever seen a man play the bagpipes? I know I'm stealing some thunder here, Percy.
That's okay.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Isn't there a statue of Bond somewhere with
Australia.
bagpipes in Australia? So he's got a statue of him playing the bagpipes. And it was weird. That video was weird, was it not? They were all playing left-handed. Did you notice that?
Well, the promo video they made of them on a flatbed, basically a flatbed truck
Yeah.
riding through the city, and that only cost them $300 to make that video. 35 million views.
That's it. It's insane, man.
And that was the band's idea to make that video.
They intentionally, everybody played their instruments left-handed in that video. Bond was on bagpipes.
I've heard that was kind of like some kind of camera.
It may have been,
thing,
maybe the way they did the camera. Because, sometimes you can get a picture made, and it's, I don't know.
When you look in the mirror.
Yeah, you look in the mirror.
Like remember George Costanza in Seinfeld when he had the cane? He's like, see, he's going back and forth.
ACDC podcast. He's a legend.
Yeah.
All right. My next honorable mention, right, boys, do y'all have this one? Girls Got Rhythm.
It's a great song.
That's a rocker right there. So, this was tough for me. And I did deep dive, but I kept finding myself coming back to sort of the classics, if you will. So, because they're hard to beat. All right. Last didn't make the original. It made the original docket. Didn't make. I usually have an original docket, and then I'll have a cut the top 8 songs, and then I'll have a final, which I rank them. And this one made the final, and it is Big Balls. Big Balls has to be on somebody's list, and because I'm not going to say anything, Loki, but just because I pick Big Balls, so we've got the biggest balls of
big
them all.
balls.
Yeah, we've got the biggest balls of them all. Yeah, so that's my honorable mentions. And now that being out of the way, let's get down into the top 5. This is what it's all about. Percy, what's number 5 for you?
My number 5 is actually a good segue into next week's topic.
Okay.
And it's a cover of a song that was originally recorded in 1935 by Big Joe Williams, and it's "Baby Please Don't Go."
Man, that's awesome.
And
collection.
To me, if you want to take a cover of that song, this is the definitive version of that.
Yes, he riffs it in that too.
Was that their? I've read a little bit about it. I used to know the story 30 or 40 years ago, but didn't they come out with an album just in Australia, and that maybe was on their first album, TNT?
I think that's right.
Yeah, they had
Do you know
they had-
Percy?
The only one that I saw it on was it was on Jailbreak. It was live.
yeah. Forgot about that album, Jailbreak. You know,
Like, it's awesome. Yeah, Joe.
that song's not really on one of their albums, is it?
Not really.
It was like EP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they did a song, just
They-
the album, just in
They
Australia.
did an album,
Parts of it come out later on.
and then they did that cover, and then they re-released High Voltage in the U.S. internationally. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, smoking. All right, what's your number 5?
All right, so yeah, so top 5. This was very difficult, very difficult. So I've moved this list around all week, but I came into this podcast thinking that Power Ridge was their best album, and I think it's one of their top 3.
It's a
with
good
Ron,
Yeah.
but High Voltage and Highway to Hell, you know, are right up there too. But I try to pick one song off of every album, and Give Me a Bullet from Power Ridge is a great song.
It's super song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially that lead-in guitar. You know, the music, it just great.
You've had a good few days, haven't you?
I have.
How many SPAs?
I would. That's
Is that confidential?
confidential information.
Maybe 1 or 2 a night.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe,
Possibly.
maybe 2 if it was,
Yeah.
you know.
Good night.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't say how much I had to drink when I was listening to this. They took me away. My number 5 has been made anybody's list yet, but the album has. It's Highway to Hell. You know, that song is one to me. That's one of the greatest rock songs. I mean, they could make a top 50 greatest rock songs list.
I remember when, I'm sure y'all do too, when we was in high school, you know, they did the Antichrist, Devil's Child stuff, AC/DC, and instead of Devil Worshippers. There's just stories going around that, you know, kids had a wreck, run into a tree, you know. I don't know where it was at, but the police got there, and Highway to Hell was on cassette. They kept playing the same over and over and over.
Oh no!
Freaking us out, you know. We're like, you know.
I mean, also when they made a song, "Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be."
Yeah.
I mean,
No, and you know, I don't think they really believe that, but it sold records.
Yeah. Well, so I've heard them in interviews that they're telling the truth. You know, they were kind of amazed that people think that they were devil worshippers. They said that Highway to Hell was about a road, you know, on a tour bus.
Highway 431.
Something like that. But they would go on a tour, and there was a road there that's long and hot and all that, and that's what they called it, the Highway to Hell. And going into a show and you know, tour.
Yeah.
I mean, the way these guys toured, I mean, it was probably crazy back then. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. They were nice.
they weren't like the Stones or Pearl Jam, you know, flying around and doing one show a week. Yeah.
These guys are on the road constantly.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All right. Good choice. All right. Where are we at? Percy? Number 4.
my number 4 is the only way to get dirty deeds done, and that's dirt cheap.
Absolutely. Cheap.
With inflation now, there's all the tires.
Voltage.
Well, when you put those tariffs in on your dirty deeds,
Well, 10K used to could get the job done. I haven't checked lately. I'm sure it's at least triple since the last time I checked. And yes, I actually checked once. What would it take?
just don't get no Canadians or nothing because you got the tariffs in there.
Yeah. So 25% knockoff tariff. 30.
Keep 30 days around.
That's even local. We know who to call. The last name is probably Banks. All right, look, I don't get killed for that.
They still around.
We'll talk about it more. I have a whole one anthill. That was the human call back when.
You know that we're probably talking too much, but one of my friends and your classmate, Cofield,
Yes.
is cousins with all of them.
Well,
So yeah, so
that,
we
makes
kind
no,
of
that makes no sense whatsoever. That's one of the nicest, affable, wonderful humans you've ever
we talked to him about that.
Tell him we mentioned him on the podcast.
I will.
Yeah. So you're number 4.
Number 4, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, but back in the Bon Scott days, they had like a more of a blues feel than they did with Brian.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the slow songs, quote, slow songs they did was from the Dirty Deeds album,
You got still some
Ride On.
That's
Man, what a great song.
It's awesome.
One of these days, change my evil ways.
Wow. And with that little voice he had,
Oh, yeah.
sort of evil sounding.
That guitar, man.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, great
The
lead.
first time I heard that song was on the Who Made Who soundtrack.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
And it's back deeper.
Well, I bought the Dirty Deeds cassette after Black. I started buying up stuff to catch all their, back catalog. So I love that.
There's a great concert video with Brian Johnson singing this song. And
How did he do on it?
it awesome.
Okay.
And what the story was, but they had come back from a tour. They were on a show and they came back out because there was some cause that they supported, and all of them had on these jerseys. And they came back after their encore and everything and did this song. And I'm gonna post that video
Please
of
do.
that, and it's great. Not Bon Scott, but he did a great job. Right.
Yeah, I've never heard him do that. I'd appreciate if you posted that video. That'd be great. All right, my number 4, boy, TNT, man. Always loved that song. It just all of a sudden you'll hear that come on. Do you look like getting like a mode when you hear that song?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not like you're ready to fight or anything, but you're just ready. You're just ready.
Yeah, they're doing those air squats like a.
I did. My knees crack right now, so I'm going with TNT. It's nitty gritty time, Percy. What you got?
Mine's already been mentioned, and it's the girl's got rhythm.
It's a great song.
She's got
the
backseat rhythm.
It's got that backseat rhythm.
It's been around the world
Rock and roll rhythm.
and seen a million girls.
That's a great line.
Mm.
They weren't really known for like the greatest lyrics, but the lyrics they had, yeah, they stuck.
They were all about women, hell,
Yep.
or trying to make struggle, or trying to
Make it to the top. That was pretty much them. That's pretty good prediction for success for them, though. It worked. All right, you're number 3.
So this is another one off Livewire, and it's one of the great intros. They've got so many songs that the intro is so good, and I'm gonna go with Livewire.
It's a great song.
High Voltage.
Yeah. Awesome tune. Yeah, so that made the list. All right. My number 3 has been mentioned, and the deeds are done cheap. So, Dirty Deeds, concur with that 100%. Love the album cover. I love the whole album was good. It had almost a rapper on it, one child, and feeling-based stuff. But that was
A lot of great songs I'm leaving off too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Percy is going to put together a very raw and righteous Bon Scott ACD playlist for us to all enjoy. So, all right.
I'm also going to add a couple of extra songs from
Bon's pre-ACDC days. Yeah.
ACDC days. When he was with he was with the Valentines.
Yeah.
And they all did a cover to "Build Me Up, Buttercup."
Really?
Hard to imagine.
It's interesting to hear Bon before he kind of found his way.
Yeah. I saw him one time as a backup singer. He was like on the stage, singing backup music.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We fact checked today. He was 5'8". But man, he was TNT. He was absolute dynamite on stage. The live album "Let There Be Rock," there is some video footage from that too. Man, that guy was just on fire.
And one of the greatest frontmen.
Would we ever do top 5 frontmen? Have we done that one, Percy?
No,
not yet. But he's going to have to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I've read about people that were there back in the day and said how charismatic and everything he was. They said when they brought him in, you replaced the guy, Dave Williams or Dave Evans. Dave Evans, that was his name. Their first singer, and done one song or something, And
Right.
they said that this guy Bon was on such another level that everybody was just kind of like dumbfounded.
He was loaded with raw charisma, if you would. That was
All his friends and family tell the story about how when he was in the first two groups, he was like tied to the mic stand, like he was almost using it for a crutch.
Right.
yeah. I mean, when you get nerves if you're out front. Some front men they couldn't even play a guitar. But if you gave them one, it gave them a security
Right.
blanket. Does that make sense? So I think he probably,
And when he joined ACDC, he kind of found his persona.
yeah. I mean, Roger Daltrey-esque, if you would. All right, Lanny, it's up to you.
Is it my turn? So
Is
this
it you?
has been.
Is it you, Percy?
He just gave his. Sorry. All right, number 2. So this has been mentioned, but
My number 2.
Oh, it's your number 2.
Y'all Ship.
okay.
That's what I was saying. You're giving me the look. Where's your number 2?
It's okay. We moved our face.
We fucked this up. That's part of the show.
Wait,
Piece of
The picture, sorry.
like one dog that I started it was we're not there.
you get what you
He announced non-alcohol IPA, so he's on that.
You're non-alcoholic drink. You can keep up. Take these. There you go. We're gonna fill the box over here, man. All right, you're number 2, Percy.
My number 2's already been mentioned, and it's TNT.
Yeah.
And this song was actually used for 4 years in TNT's coverage of NASCAR, which kind of really makes sense.
It does make sense,
That
doesn't it?
makes sense.
Yeah. Well, they seized an opportunity there. All right, Lanny, number 2 for you.
So this has been mentioned, but this is the quintessential, as a person would say, Bon Scott song. It's a long way to the top
If you want
if
to
you want to rock and roll.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2, and I got a little bit more information I've learned about that song. They haven't played that since he died. They've never played that in concert.
Believe that.
Out of respect for Bon Scott, they never played that because they said that was
That
his
was
song.
that
about
was
him.
his signature song.
Yeah, and here's an interesting little fact that I learned. The producer of that first album, or first couple albums, was George Young, who was in the Easy Beats, and he's Angus and Malcolm's brother. His son is the current guitar player for AC/DC who took Malcolm's place. But anyway, George Young had brought up during the sessions that Vaughn used to play in a bagpipe band. And
Holy shit! I didn't know this.
but Vaughn played drums. He didn't play bagpipes.
Okay.
But they said he went out and bought a bagpipe, $400 bagpipe, which back then was pretty expensive.
Absolutely.
Taught himself enough to play on that song, and
That's a great story.
It's a great rock and roll song when you got a bagpipe there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Can't think of too many rock songs that have a bagpipe. Can you?
that's right.
First.
There's not many. There's a few songs where they can put unusual instruments in.
Yes, but that's the only one I can remember. Now we can check that later.
Going back,
Copperhead Road had bagpipe.
Copperhead
That's right.
Wilkie
Hey.
coming in.
I'm in. He's there. I'm there.
Right. Another little fact: Metallica uses this song as their right before they come on stage. For the last 3 years, they've used "It's a Long Way to the Top." If you want to rock and roll,
That's awesome.
sort of their intro song.
That's awesome. All right, that was your number 2. My number 2 has been taken as well, but it's one of my favorite AC/DCs, and it's Ride On. I mean, they don't have too many slow songs, and this one was slow and bluesy. And Wilkie, like me and you, we like sort of that slow stuff if it's done right, and they nailed this one. And you never think about Bon Scott singing a slower song, but he was down and dirty and bluesy in this one. It was great, and great lyrics in that one too. We had mentioned their lyrics were all based on this, but Right On. I mean, he told a story.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's sad, and there's some imagery in it when you listen to it. So I give that the nod.
It's Percy's turn. It's number 1.
I knew this time. Where you 3 times ago?
Wait till Gary Carter.
Number one. What's number one for you, Bruce?
Number one for me has already been mentioned, and it'll never change. It's Brian or Vaughn. It's my favorite AC/DC song, and it's A Long Way to the Top.
I knew that would be your number one.
I mean,
I knew that you loved that song. I knew that was going to be your number one choice. So, and rightfully so, because as Wayne mentioned, that was Bond's. That was his signature song, pretty much. All right, now I'm curious. What's your number one?
Well, the best AC/DC songs, you have to give them two or three, and one of them has got to be Highway to Hell.
Damn right.
So, the best. That riff opening up Highway to Hell is up there with Smoke on the Water,
Absolutely, it is.
any Van Halen.
That's
everything
one.
is-
If you're a young guitar player and on electric and you're trying to learn, that's one of the riffs you want to.
Simple,
Yep.
powerful.
Yes.
Highway to Hell.
Perfectly stated. Simple and powerful.
And I can't remember if we were on air when we were talking about it, but that song, was about a highway.
Yeah, it was.
Were we on there? When
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm repeating this. So
See, we're getting at that age. I'll be 60.
yeah,
next
so
month.
it's not
Yeah,
about
you're
worshiping
timing.
anything. There weren't devil worshippers or anything like that, and I've heard them say that, but that's just kind of about touring.
Yeah. Yeah, 431. Sorry, still is. It's number one and will always be, and it's my number one AC/DC song, period, whether it's Bond or Lion, and it's Whole Lot of Rosie. And I want to give a shout out to Mark McGee. Who
My God,
we got him. We went to the fraternity house, and he had two artists that he listened to loudly, probably every day. One was Stevie Ray Vaughan. The other was AC/DC, which he eventually got an AC/DC tattoo on his thigh, right here, on his quad.
And one, he got married and had to get it covered up. Her name. His face is, I don't know what it is.
Rebel down there. We love you. We hope you listen to this tonight. We'll make sure. Wayne, I think, is going to send you the link. And anyway, we want to give you some shout out and love. Every time I think
You
about
hear Jailbreak. They play that song, Jailbreak.
it, a lot. He pretty much turned us on to the early AC/DC. I give him my life's credit in that. Pre-Black Days, anyway. Goo was playing that. He knew what was going on before most of us at that age did. So, Percy, you got a Percy's pick this week?
I do. And this is just to jump on with your number one, and it's a cover of Whole Lot of Rosie. And it's from the Pat Travers Band.
Oh man, Pat Travers Band.
Man, I
didn't know they did that either. Did you?
I did not.
No, that's got to be smoking. All I remember from Pat Travers is "Boom Boom" out in the lights. That was a great song too, though. Good choice. Wilkie, you got anything you want to add?
I had Rock and Roll Damnation and Shot Down in Flames.
Okay, Shut Down the Flames. Right, all right. Wayne?
A lot of them we missed, but did y'all see the Joan Jett has a cover song, AC/DC cover song? She did a great job, I thought.
I'm sure she did. You don't remember which one it was? I think I saw something.
Was it 30 Days?
30 Days. Yeah, okay. Good job. All right. Next week, Jeff Walker is coming. We're going to start our blues series, and we're starting in the basement, 1930s blues. It should be an interesting topic and a lot of cool music. Going to be sort of, well, it's going to be very nostalgic and historic, if you will. So tune in. Wayne, we'll talk about what's next for you later. You've got to do the other half of AC/DC,
Right.
as you know. Yeah, so we'll do that coming up here in the next couple months, probably. And,
Dedicate that for those about to rock.
we salute you, and all I gotta say is bye bye.